Hey Glow Getters, welcome to the Glow Collective. This podcast series is dedicated to upgrading your consciousness in all facets. This includes rewiring your relationship with yourself and life through deep dives into your mindset and behavior, your skincare, health and wellness, and into new avenues of connection and growth. And for all my fellow entrepreneurs, get ready. We cover creative hacks to start and grow your own side or main hustle, the art of true mastery and being an expert in your field, and how to find your tribe. This is all in the spirit of service to you, my Glow Getters, my community, and ultimately our higher selves. This is a collection of my life's work to guide you through and into the next level of your life. Get ready for today's episode. We're about to master and magnetize this show. And if these words create shifts and waves of new energy within you, I would be honored for you to share this episode with 3 of your family and friends in need of raising their daily glow. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review to be in the Glow Up loop. And without further ado, Glow Getters, welcome to the Glow Collective. I'm your host, and it's time to glow, Dr. V. All right, guys, I want to take a quick minute to give a shout out to our sponsor, Prolinium. So Prolinium is the maker of 2 of my absolute favorite fillers, Revenus Versa and Revenus Lips. Now, these 2 fillers are incredible because they have the highest concentration of hyaluronic acid, which is a magical little molecule that is naturally produced in your body and helps keep your tissues hydrated and healthy. Now, both of these fillers are loaded with this molecule, and the high concentration means that Revenus produces long-lasting, beautiful results that will always look completely natural while keeping your skin and lips healthy and hydrated. Now, Revenus Versa is one of the newer FDA-approved HA injectables used to treat mild to severe facial wrinkles and folds, such as those smile lines around the mouth. It's one of the best ways to take years off your appearance and help you smile with total confidence. It is hands down my favorite and go-to HA filler. If you've been thinking about improving those smile lines and refreshing your look, then you've got to try Versa. Use promo code LIPS to receive 10% off your first treatment with me, or find a local Revenus provider near you. All right, guys, welcome. So where should we start? Where shall we begin? Well, you know I love centering, so I really want to dive in with a little bit of a centering exercise because we're going to dive into topics that may challenge you. I hope they really invite you to question things and challenge yourself. They may make you feel uncomfortable and bring up, just a little bit of discomfort within. And I think that's all healthy, especially if you do it in a guided way. And before we do that, let's set the stage and get grounded and get excited because this is going to be a really beautiful episode. And I'm really excited and honored to share this with you guys. So let's do today on feeling your heartbeat. So wherever you are, I invite you to stop what you're doing. Find a quiet space. So whether you're driving, you could pull over or just take a few deep breaths and continue on. If you're at home, turn off the TV, get off social media, put your phone on silent, keep this playing, of course, or maybe pause this if you want. You can listen and then come back and continue on. And I want you to take a deep breath in and exhale. And take another deep breath in and exhale. And I want you to just feel your heartbeat. And maybe it's racing. Maybe you can't hear it. And if you can't hear it, just become conscious of your breath. Listen to your inhale and listen to your exhale. Can you begin to feel the number of seconds between your inhale and your exhale? Let's take another deep breath in and exhale. Maybe you can start to feel your heartbeat now that you're taking inventory of yourself. And maybe you're listening to your surroundings and the environment you're in. and just breathe with me. And I want you to listen to these instructions and then pause the podcast and come back to it in a few minutes. What I want you to do is set a timer for 15 seconds, and I want you to count how many beats your heart takes in that 15 seconds. And then I want you to write that down or mentally remember it and take 5 to 15 conscious breaths. So 5 to 15 conscious breaths in and out. And then after that, I want you to set another timer and count again. And when you come back to this podcast, I want you to question, is it lower? I'm going to bet it is, unless you have just a lot of things that are racing in your mind. And so now for those of you that have paused and come back, welcome back. I want the intention is for you to learn how to consciously slow your heart rate. And part of that comes through observing and using your breath. And with that, these are simple things that you can do at any moment when you feel pressed or rushed or anxious or feelings of anxiety. Take time to center yourself. It's really, really, really important. And your breath, and just by slowing down, you can begin to really observe yourself and your mind and what's going on with your mental chatter. And once you start to slowly with time understand yourself, you can really you gain clarity that can help you navigate situations. And that's the whole point of this. And so with that, let's dive into a little bit about business development, business management. I want to talk a little bit about things that happened pre and post COVID and shifts that occurred. And the whole purpose of this is for you to take time to feel yourself and ask yourself, what makes you come alive? What makes you light up? What lights your soul up? And when do you feel the most joy? Because your body, your thoughts, and your emotions, they all speak to you. They speak to us all the time. We just are not aware. And, before COVID, I think there's always challenges, and there's work that comes into running any business or with any endeavor that you do in your life, whether you choose to have a family and you're trying to uphold and take care of your household. If you're starting a business or thinking about starting a business, as if it's something that's not within your skill set, there's a lot of aspects that you have to learn. And for me, finishing, with as a physician, and in med school, we don't really learn the business aspect, that we don't learn the business management. We don't learn really we don't learn a lot of different things, and that can create when there's unknowns or uncertainties or things that you don't feel as comfortable or confident about, that can create a lot of fear and feelings of anxiety. And so part of that is, how do we start to navigate those emotions and start to take action despite it, in the step and in the direction our dreams. And that is why we are here, you guys. That is why we are here. So when I'm thinking about starting something, such as when I thought about starting my practice, I wanted to first understand, what are the steps involved to get it started? And before that, really understand my why. And identify our whys, I think, being able to journal or have conversations with family members or friends that know us well, and that we can talk to them to see, give us feedback on when do we speak with more passion or excitement, and when you light up about certain topics or different things. That is something that you should really celebrate and see if you can expand into that, as that's going to be an area for your vocation. So part of, when you're starting something new, it's taking inventory, taking full responsibility of the steps needed, and really committing yourself to evolving and growing into the type of person that is needed to carry out the tasks or the missions or the vision that you have. And so before I started my practice, I had just graduated residency, and that was exciting. But there's a lot of unknowns about that, about having to go out and take care of patients with no one overseeing you as a resident, during residency, we do have a lot of ownership of the patients. We go in and see the patients, but then there's always an attending physician or always someone overseeing either our notes or that we can turn to with any questions. And so when you do step out after residency, you are on your own in a way. But I think part of that is knowing that even if you're on your own, there's always people and there's always colleagues and mentors that you can reach out to with questions. And so part of, for me, when I was starting my practice was really trying to understand and learn the business side of things, with whether you're going to do a cash-based practice or you're going to have insurance. There's just so many different questions, so many different elements involved into that. And for me, I know I loved aesthetics and I wanted to grow my aesthetic practice. And so really was trying to understand the best ways for me to do that while also just provide really excellent patient care and service. All right, you guys. And now for a little bit more from our sponsor, Prolinium. I'm even more excited with the launch of their newest filler, Revenus Lips. Did you know that lip rejuvenation is one of the most popular and requested minimally invasive procedure right now? You guys, as we age, our lips tend to look deflated and dry. For all of my glow getters curious about lip rejuvenation, we can create a subtle and naturally beautiful pout that will never look puffy or overdone. It's what I want to get in my own lips. And unlike other fillers, Revenus Lips is scientifically formulated to reduce swelling and produce long-lasting results. If you're curious to learn more, check out our Instagram page at DRVSKIN to see some of my amazing before and afters, or you can find the local Revenus provider near you using the link in the show notes, and use promo code LIPS to receive 10% off your first treatment with me. I was very humbled and I'm very grateful as I have incredible support from family and friends who are able to either help me get things set up. I work with my dad in the same practice. My dad's a pediatrician. And so being able to start my practice in his clinic space was really helpful to save on rent and different things like that. And my mom was a practice manager, so she was able to help me get things set up on that end. And at the time, I had worked with my older brother, who is, his name's Dr. Vishal Varula. He works with Fort Wayne Integrative Medicine, and he had just also started his practice at the time. And since we both were starting out, we were in the same clinic space. And so I know I had incredibly grateful for all of his help and just his help and oversight in starting to learn how to first really build a team and how to begin to lead your team. And also part of that was learning how to take constructive criticism. And so, looking back at things before, now we're 3.5 years into the practice to now, what I see, the ways we grew, the ways the practice has grown is part of that goes hand in hand with personal growth and development. And that comes from a willingness to receive feedback. And initially, when I would receive feedback, I would take it personally. It's hard not to. We pour our mind, our heart, our soul, our energy, and everything into, a vision like a business. And for those of you who are business owners as well, the tenacity, the determination, and the commitment and drive it takes to do all the things that is needed to keep something, to sustain a business. And especially before COVID, it was I say all the normal things that come with running a practice, the team management, HR, just having, understanding how things get set up. And then that was all now, though that seems like pretty easy things. But after COVID, I don't know about you, but COVID tested me as a business owner in so many ways that I never thought that I would be tested. And I know it's tested not just me, it tested everyone in so many ways. And part of the ability to why I feel like despite COVID, we're still learning to thrive is to learn, have a willingness to be flexible and thrive in chaos. And that was something that was very challenging, as we all like control, and I like control in certain ways as well. It gives us security and stability. And it was teaching myself to unlearn the need to derive security from control. And you could say it on the contrary, learning to find security in the unknown. And how do you do that, right? It's extremely challenging. And what I can share is it's really learning to be really in tune with yourself, and from moment to moment, if you can understand the shifts in your emotions and energies, and if you start to understand where and how and why you're triggered, and not become reactive to all of them, you can now start to step into the element of chaos, which is really unpredictable order. I mean, at the end of the day. And, no matter what, before and after COVID, what it comes down to, in order to thrive in that unpredictable order or chaos, is really developing your own system and protocol for, different scenarios. And that was something that, with COVID, we were all hit with such an incredible, unpredictable scenario, right? None of us saw this coming, or 99% of the world did not see this coming, right? And when it was even happening, a lot of us didn't, right? We didn't want to believe it. It was just something that really shook us from shook us through our core, and from the ground up, and from above, and all around, and shook us in so many different ways, and tested us in so many ways, right? And of being able to bounce back or keep your grounding and feel the stability despite all the changes around is by being rooted in yourself, number one. And number two is then developing your systems and protocols to handle different scenarios. And did any of us have a scenario for a pandemic? No. But I think that was something where we were quickly having to implement and learn the implications of what it meant to have a viral pandemic going on, and then also the implications in the business setting. And part of being able to, I think some of a few things that really tested us in different ways with the practice was really honoring our team and each member of the team, while also honoring the goals of the practice. And so when COVID hit, I was faced with, as many people, the decision of, we were forced to close down, and many businesses and practices had to fire or lay off or furlough a lot of employees. And a big decision on my behalf was just, I didn't want to, the team it's a small group of girls that work with us, and they're like your family. They become your work family. And the one thing I wanted to do, you take responsibility and ownership in so many ways. And I wanted to do what I could to keep their jobs. And so even if that meant the business taking a hit. And so part of that was seeing it, using the opportunity for me with COVID being shut down, was to use this time to really explore ways to build the business, to really work on marketing, work on just education within the girls, really start to come up with new protocols and systems that will help us to really handle things when we come back. And that was really key. And so part of it with COVID was starting to understand, okay, what are the systems that we're going to have to implement, and what are the protocols we're going to have to implement? And a lot of it was very unknown, but I think having a good group of team members who are understanding, and also, using your own internal guidance, you're able to implement practices as well. So that was really key. last part, or I would say another really important aspect of going with the flow and thriving amidst the chaos and uncertainty is surrendering control. Surrendering control that, I don't know if you believe in a higher being, a higher power, or God, universe, spirit, whatever resonates with you. That was something that was incredibly helpful and useful, was just to surrender that whatever is going to happen, it's out of my hands. I cannot control pretty much anything except my own self and the reaction that I choose to hold or react with, and the energy that I choose to hold. And so that became a really big practice for me, is learning the art of surrender. And that will be for a different episode, as I think it's really, really, really important. But I think those three things that we covered are really key to really starting to go with the flow, thrive amidst the uncertainty, and just undergo, and not just undergo, but really thrive with change. And that is something that many of us struggle with. You guys, sponsorships make this podcast possible, so please take a listen to one of my favorite sponsors. I want all of you glow getters to know that I will only talk about products that I personally use myself and truly love and believe in. I'm excited to announce that this episode of the Glow Collective is brought to you by Bellafill, one of my personal favorite fillers. As a dermatologist, treating acne scarring is one of the most impactful things that I do for patients to really help them increase their glow, increase their confidence, and help them feel more comfortable in their skin. Bellafill is the only filler FDA approved for the treatment of acne scarring. Now, what I love about Bellafill is that it works immediately, but it's also a long-term biostimulatory filler. So what that means is that it's promoting the growth of new collagen. Now, you guys, this means that you get a beautiful result the day of your treatment that will only improve with time. Now, if you're curious about treating your acne scarring and want to start your journey to smooth, glowing skin, I invite you to make an appointment with me, Dr. V, or check out the link in the show notes to find a Bellafill provider near you. And if you're seeing me, mention this podcast to receive 10% off your first Bellafill treatment. Now back to the show. So next, I really want to cover a little bit on goal setting, because I think that's so important. And I think when it comes to business management, and if you're looking to start something new, whether you have a new creative project you want to create, you want to start a business, or you just want to start a new something at home, like a new creative project, a house project. I think, goal setting is incredibly important, and being able to do it in a really effective way is key. So my question for you is, do you set goals? So how many of my glow getters set goals and actually achieve them, right? I think it's part of it is, we can set goals, right? Like as we do with New Year's, our resolutions, right? And how many of you keep those goals? How many of you have said that you're going to do X, Y, Z and don't do it, right? Just as much as many of you are. And it's something that I don't do as much, as now I'm very intentional about the things that I do set out to do, versus I have a very clear, for me, it's clear as to when I say I'm going to do something, is that something that I would love to do, but not actionable, or is it something that's actionable? And so I think that's really important when it comes to understanding and identifying and being able to set proper goals. And, I think something that really is important is to understand that, and it really hit home for me, is if you want something different, you have to be willing to do something different. You have to be willing to be different. And that can be challenging, to strike out on your own, or to follow your own authentic self or your voice, and follow that through, and be met with resistance or criticism, but continue onward. And being able to be rooted in yourself is one way to really turn down the volume from everyone else, so that you can really truly hear what's coming from within. And so, this is what really I think is so incredibly important when we start to identify, how can we start to tune into our creativity, and how can we become the co-creators that we're meant to be. I really believe that each and every one of us are capable of that. We just don't give ourselves the time or the space, or we don't know how, or we have a lot of blocks and obstacles that hold us from embracing that energetic state that is creativity. And I'll share a few fun things that I like, what I feel is fun when I have a new creative project, or is just I want to look at something a different way. For me, the whole design phase of a project is so exhilarating. Like, I love to be able to really envision the energy and the feeling, and really feel into the a vision. And I do that a lot in certain types of meditations where they're very active. And in this process, I'm able to really visualize a scenario or a dream, and or a new product or inspiration or whatever it is. And I really am able to dial in and truly feel it to the point that it becomes very real. And our brains do not know the difference between what is reality and what is actually happening. So if you take time to sit and walk yourself through a vision, with a really clear way that you're able to feel into your desires, and you really let those feelings marinate your soul, and you take that energy and you just see and feel and you live and experience, after having that clarity of mind and priming your emotional state, if after this moment you take a few minutes to 5, 10, 15 minutes to clearly now write down your goals, make a plan, you're going to confidently execute them because you're more excited about them. And I'm really big about feeling into that, because that energy and that passion is tangible and we can feel it. And a big part of it is, now how can we cultivate that energy? How can we cultivate that excitement and that passion? And that is what is needed to really tap into the creative mind. At the start of any project, there's always a moment that becomes very, what I like to call the inception phase, the inception of an idea. So if you have, things that, once you start to understand your why and you understand what you're passionate about, it's time to look at a list, a cross section of that list of the, find the areas that you find are just so exciting, that you get so passionate, that you're fired up to really talk about or do, or that you spend your time doing, things you enjoy doing in your spare time. And now start to look at, do you have any skills that overlap in this area or in these areas? And you may not feel like you have that you're an expert or an authority in that field, or that you have the skill set, but what comes with it is being ready to walk the walk and talk the talk. And you can only do that once you become knowledgeable, right? Once you become knowledgeable. So the next phase would be to really start taking notes. So for me, with the inception phase, that usually comes through a meditation where I will see or feel or vision or something shared with me, that I see what the next creation is. And when I come out of a meditative state, I'll go write those things down, right? And from there, I may not know what it is at the time, but sooner or later, the answers appear. And so when it started with the practice, back to the practice, I started taking notes. First off, you start with a business plan, and I'd never written a business plan, so I had to Google business plan, how to write a business plan. So with Google being your friend, we can literally have so much information at our fingertips. And I think it's really, now there's no better time than now to really have access to knowledge and information. It's just a matter of not going through knowledge overload, information overload, but really trying to find information that can be distilled and easily understood. And after that, applied. So in the note taking phase, really just gauging what are the things that you already have that you could start with. And if not, what are your knowledge gaps? And you start to work on your knowledge gaps. And from there, as you work on your knowledge gaps, you start with things that you know. And so when it comes to, with the practice, I knew that I wanted to have a laser and get into aesthetics and really do that. So I started to really just take more time to understand what a successful aesthetic practice requires. I needed to understand more of the marketing and business side of it, which I did not know. And the other half of it was once I understood what needed to be done, I had to be willing to do those things. And so for me, I'm a very introverted person, as much as it doesn't seem that way. I enjoy quiet and I enjoy my quiet time. But I understand that there's a specific persona, or there's specific traits of people that are able to accomplish these big and beautiful and bold things. And it may not be something that comes natural, but we can learn to step into the discomfort and embrace other sides of it. So for me, I started to share more of myself on social media, talk about my practice, talk about myself, and share things that, there's also embracing the vulnerability that comes with that, because now people are starting to see you. They're starting to gain insights into who you are as a person. And for me, being a private individual, there's a line as to what do you want to share and what do you want people to see and not see. And I think only it's up to each person to develop their own understanding of themselves and then share things that are comfortable. And the other side of that, I think, is understanding why you're sharing something. So many of us seek external validation, and I'm just like everyone else. And I think for me, there's several ways that I did participate in activities or do things that for external validation, because it feels good for someone to say, yes, you're doing a good job, or, this looks good, or keep doing this, right? It's always helpful to receive that positive reinforcement. The big part of it comes from how can we shift from that external validation to internal validation. And that comes from, building your self-esteem, your self-confidence, your self-worth, building and learning, acquiring knowledge and skills, and really applying them not for others, but applying them for yourselves. And so I think those are all really big things that make the difference between someone who can start with an idea phase, be in the idea phase of something, and then translate that to bring it into reality, to go from the inception phase into really the active creation. And there's there's so much that goes on just from that. When you have an idea to actually creating it, there's a whole lot of steps, there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done, and you have to be willing to do those things. And often when we don't complete things, it's because we weren't able to do the work. And I know that I wasn't able to do the work in many ways, but you get to a point where if you have a burning desire for something, you will, if you have a burning desire, you will wake up in the night to write down your ideas, to learn something. You're going to get up early, and you're going to find time to do your research. And if you don't, then you're not really passionate about it. And that's okay. It's not about adding in more things. It's about, or chasing more things. It's about honoring yourself and your needs, and being true to yourself no matter what. And now for a message from one of our sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by Alive and Vivid Skincare, featuring Bakuchiol Glow, their signature serum containing bakuchiol, a revolutionary plant-based retinol. It also contains cannabinoids, specifically CBD and CBG, as well as other botanicals to combat common signs of aging, including wrinkles, redness, and texture. This is also great for rosacea-prone or acne-prone skin, or those who cannot tolerate retinols and desire alternatives to their skincare. It is formulated with effective and cutting-edge ingredients for those who desire cleaner, medical-grade skincare. Visit drvskin.com/alivevividskincare to learn more, and use the promo code BAKUGLOW to receive 10% off your first order. Visit the show links to find this information. And with honoring yourself no matter what, it's also honoring if something's not for you, being able to say no to something, and being able to focus and take things away instead of adding to your plate. And so once, with the practice, once that was once the practice was going well and during the COVID-19 pandemic, having that time, I touched base with this in my first episode. That's when I really had the time to say, okay, if I could never practice again, God forbid, if I can never practice again, but I like to take myself through these hypothetical situations because they're very helpful. If I could never practice again, what would I do? Right? Like, I cannot go treat patients in my clinic. What can I do? Right? What can I do? Because we all have bills to pay. We all still are here on earth to live and thrive and grow and share and be right in a wholehearted way. So during that time is when I had, blessed with a lot of time to tap into my creative elements and be in that energetic space and really put in the work for the Alive and Vivid skincare and, build on the practice and also start the ideas for the podcast. And with the skincare, that was something that with Alive and Vivid skincare, I had always wanted, I didn't care to just, I didn't care about creating a product for me, it's not about the money. My why is not money per se. Yes, money's important. And I will definitely have another episode talking about the energy behind money and abundance. And what I will share here is for me, it's about being able to do something that I never thought was possible, being able to do something that I would tell myself I couldn't do, that I was not capable, I was not able to do something. And so that for me, I was like, well, it's so challenging to start a skincare. I don't know XYZ. And normally we would say, okay, if we don't know it, I can't do it. But I think part of that is when you state your intention and if it's aligned for you to bring that into creation, you're going to be met with people, scenarios, or situations that will facilitate that. And I was. And so for me, partnering with Greg Kruger from Dream Nutrition, which was on one of our prior episodes, this was a way for us to basically co-create a new idea or project and build on both of our businesses. And for me at that stage where I was at, I want to, and even now, I want to invest in people and practices and friends, family that I believe in. And I want to support that. Right. And so when it came to finding someone to formulate, yes, there's so many different formulators that you could go find. For me, it's about the personal connection. And so that's why I specifically worked with Greg because I was like, okay, he's my friend. I love this guy. He's an awesome human being. He's doing amazing work. I want to create this with him. And so began that phase. And it was really beautiful to learn just so much about what goes into a skincare product, but also regulations. And just that's a whole nother side that I had to become more knowledgeable about. And that was really fun for me. And so now I want to end a little bit with spoken word. Spoken word and just language in general is something that I've become really inspired with as language is just so incredibly powerful. It's such a powerful tool to connect and to share across, human beings and not just human beings across, species. There's ways that we use different types of languages, right? And so it's a beautiful way to really dive into the art of communication. And so I want to end with a little bit of a spoken word. So let's get to it, guys. All right, here we go. Hey, you. Yes, you. I'm talking to you. Don't scroll away because this is your key takeaway. Why do you look outside when everything is between your two eyes? Why do you run away from the quietness needed to nurture and fuel your dreams? Who are you really trying to please? Because it sure as hell ain't me. Hey, you. Don't back down on your dreams, but level up and learn to dig deep. Why do you fear when it's all so clear? It's really so sweet if only we understand the true essence of its reality. Questions always bombarding your energy. The take home here is you're already free. I, like you, questioned everything all around and in between. And here's a piece of advice: don't question unless you're willing to thrive in its uncertainty. There's unprecedented scientific evidence that your success is truly determined by your ability to relax and breathe deep. We'll be covering all of this in the future and more, so hang tight and take a deep breath with me. As the tides shift, so do your energies. Are you cultivating your inner landscape or just trying to escape? Why do you hold back your creativity? More specifically, what's stopping you from unleashing your generosity? Learning to set and redefine your boundaries, it's time to tap into that reservoir of unlimited energy and create your new reality. Blessed with what many may call success, my sincerest wish is to guide you to unlocking your own blissful success. And for all my empowered leaders, skincare junkies, and souls ready to level up with me, it's time to stop playing hide and seek. Your time to rise is now, to release yourself into complete trust and belief and step into your inner peace. All right, guys. So hope you enjoyed that little bit of spoken word. As we close, I want to revisit the 3 questions that I asked in the beginning. These 3 questions I want you to use as journal prompts. Use them to just write down what comes to mind, explore these questions, and the answers are the key to really understanding yourself, and in order to step into a new avenue, a new creative direction. And I promise you that they're fun. So number 1, what makes you come alive? It can be anything you want. You just jot it down. Number 2, what lights up your soul? And number 3, when do you feel the most joy? All right, guys, if you enjoyed this episode of The Glow Collective, I humbly invite you to take a conscious moment to keep this vision glowing. I would love for you to subscribe, rate, and leave us an honest review. And if this podcast resonates with you, share it with 3 or 4 of your family friends. Tag me on Instagram at DRVSKIN and let me know which words and messages really hit home for you. Let's get the message growing. And why? Because I really want you to glow. Our time is now, and this podcast is only made possible because of you, because I am called to give back to you and share these ideas, thoughts, and messages with all of you, my intrigued glow-getting listeners. We are high vibrational beings here to grow and feel. We are meant to create and perceive deeper experiences of connection and to ultimately enhance the level of love and joy in our relationships of our life. So this is a wrap to today's episode. I'm your host, Dr. V. Stay tuned for the upcoming episode of The Glow Collective, and let's live, love, and glow.